I used to think affairs happened to other people. The kind of people in airport novels and streaming dramas, the ones who drink too much red wine on weekday nights and say things like, "We just grew apart." Then it happened to me, in a beige kitchen in a generic suburb, on a Tuesday that should have been forgettable. My name is Daniel. I am, by all accounts, painfully ordinary. Mid-level manager at a logistics company, 2 kids, fixed-rate mortgage, a car that needs new brake pads. My wife, Elena, used to joke that we were the kind of couple advertisers loved. Approachable, spotless, aspirational. She was wrong about the spotless part. The first crack, I noticed it first in the way she laughed. Not that she laughed more, just elsewhere. At her phone, screen tilted away from me, thumb moving fast, the way people text when the words feel dangerous. "Elena?" I asked one night, leaning on the doorway. She was on the couch, blue light washing over her face. Her phone lit up with a message, then went dark when she flipped it over. "Work," she said, "quarter end, you know how it is." I didn't know how it was. I also knew her company didn't schedule emergency brainstorming sessions at 11:47 p.m. with heart emojis. I pretended not to notice. North Americans are good at that, pretending everything is fine as long as the lawn is mowed and the recycling goes out on Thursdays. Europeans, from what I've seen on their dramas, at least have the decency to let the storm show on the surface. In our house, the storm moved quietly, like gas seeping under a door. The truth arrived through a notification she forgot to mute. She was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the dresser, a preview flashing briefly before the screen dimmed again. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was looking for a pair of socks. But there it was. Can't stop thinking about last night. Same time next week? The name, Eric, Consulting. A safe label, a neutral label. My stomach dropped in a cold, controlled way. People talk about rage like it's a fire. For me, it was exactly the opposite. Everything went icy, slow, precise. I picked up the phone. Lock screen, passcode. I put it back exactly where she'd left it. Then I walked downstairs, sat at the kitchen table, and stared at the grain of the wood until I could hear my heartbeat again. I didn't confront her that night, or the next. Instead, I watched. Mask of normalcy. There is a particular kind of cruelty in domestic betrayal. Everything on the surface stays the same. The school drop-offs, the shared calendars, the grocery lists, milk, cereal, strawberries, gluten-free bread. The same shows half-watched on streaming, the same arguments about screen time for the kids. Only now I saw the seams. The late meetings, that stretched longer. The lipstick she never wore for me, but somehow had on when she came home from strategy dinners. The deleted message threads that still left their ghosts in her notifications. I changed the password on our family laptop and synced her phone backups to the cloud. She thought she was clever, keeping everything on her own device. She forgot that cloud services exist to make other people's secrets easier to store. A week later, I had what I needed. Screenshots, call logs, hotel confirmations sent to a private email she thought I didn't know about. They met mostly downtown, near her office. Nice places, craft cocktails, reclaimed wood tables, soft lighting made for pretending things are prettier than they are. The affair had been going on for 3 months. Long enough for inside jokes, shared playlists, and an entire thread of messages where she described me as distant and emotionally unavailable. That part hurt more than the sex, in a way. Not because it was true, though part of it was, but because she had turned me into a caricature to justify what she was doing. Cheating stories usually split people into teams. Team burn it all down versus team work it out. I didn't feel like either. I felt erased. There is a kind of violence in watching your history with someone be rewritten in real time, turned into a narrative where you were always the problem and they were always searching for something real. I knew, statistically, that infidelity is not exactly rare in long-term relationships in the West. But statistics are useless when you're staring at a message from your wife that reads, "I can't wait to be in your arms again." The revenge came to me slowly, not as a sudden fantasy of slashed tires or screaming confrontations, but as something quieter. A need not just to expose the lie, but to curate the audience. If she wanted a performance, I would give her a stage. I started small. I learned Eric's last name from one of the hotel bookings. From there, it took one professional networking site, one company profile, and a few public records to build a picture of him. Married. 2 kids, suburban address not unlike ours. Volunteer photos from a local charity run. His arm wrapped around a woman who smiled like she still trusted him. Perfect. I created a new email account, nothing traceable to me. I used it to sign up for a cloud storage trial, then uploaded select screenshots and call logs. No commentary, no dramatic framing, just enough to be undeniable. Then I drafted 2 emails. One to Eric's wife, one to my own. Alina's would not arrive until later. Her lesson would be public. For her, I had something else in mind. We were scheduled to host a small gathering the following month. Couple friends, neighbors, some colleagues. A very Western ritual. Performatively normal socializing over charcuterie boards and mid-range wine. Should we cancel? Alina asked a week before, phone in her hand, eyes flicking up with what I now recognized as guilt disguised as fatigue. Why would we cancel? I said, everyone's looking forward to it. She searched my face for a clue, then nodded slowly. If she sensed the trap, she ignored it. I spent 3 nights preparing a slideshow. On the surface, it looked like one of those nostalgic anniversary compilations. Photos from our wedding. Vacations. The kids learning to ride bikes. Between those, I slid in screenshots. Not all of them, just enough. A text with a hotel room number. A selfie she'd sent in a dress she claimed she'd bought on sale for work. Her message. I wish I could just stay with you forever. Each incriminating image was preceded by a wholesome one. Honeymoon beach picture, then her smiling in the lobby of the hotel where she'd met him. Kids baking cookies, then her texting him, he's upstairs. I can't talk long. Revenge is most effective when it highlights contrast. The night of the party, the house looked perfect. Candles, clean counters, music low enough for conversation but loud enough to blur awkward pauses. Our friends arrived in clumps of coats and laughter. Someone brought craft beer from a local European-style brewery. Someone else commented on how Instagrammable our living room looked. Alina moved through the crowd with practiced ease. She poured drinks, touched my arm in public, told our origin story for the 100th time to a new coworker. If public affection had been a subject, she would have graduated top of her class. Can you help me with the TV? I asked casually, when most people had plates in their hands. I put together something for fun. You'll like it. She frowned, but followed me to the entertainment center. You'll see, I whispered, and kissed her cheek. She smiled, reassured. Our guests gathered when the lights dimmed slightly. On screen, a title slide. 10 Years of Us, Collective, AWWS. Alina's shoulders relaxed. The first few slides were harmless nostalgia. S at 24, thinner and more hopeful. Our first small apartment, the day we brought our daughter home from the hospital. Then, Alina in a hotel lobby, timestamped from 3 weeks ago. The photo had been in her phone. She'd sent it to him with the caption, "Think you like this dress better off." The room went quiet, the way rooms do when a storm hits just outside the window. Another slide, a cropped screenshot of a message. Eric, room 512. Can't wait, Elena. On my way. I told him I'd be at a late meeting. Her hand found my arm. Daniel, she murmured, voice low and tight. Turn it off. I didn't. The slideshow moved on, alternating between family photos and digital evidence, building a rhythm like a prosecutor's closing argument. No voiceover, no commentary, just the juxtaposition. Someone gasped, someone else muttered, Jesus. Elena tried to lunge for the remote, but I already had it in my pocket. This isn't fair, she said, but her voice broke on the last word. I paused the slideshow on a split screen. On the left, our family Christmas photo, matching sweaters and forced smiles. On the right, a message from her, I hate pretending with him. With you I feel real. Silence. Then, from the back, a hesitant voice. Elena, is this real? She didn't answer. She just looked at me, eyes wide and glistening, like maybe there was still a version of this where I'd stop, hug her, say it was all a bad joke. I'd imagined that look, many times, in the weeks leading up. I'd tested myself against it. Would I falter? Would I soften? I did not. I found out a month ago, I said, addressing the room. I thought it would be dishonest to keep pretending, especially with the people who think they know us best. My voice was calm, too calm. Elena and I will figure out what happens next privately. But the lies stopped tonight. I clicked the TV off. The party ended in an awkward shuffle of coats and murmured goodbyes. No one looked directly at Elena. They didn't know where to put their eyes. Eric's wife received her anonymous email the same night. The link, the screenshots, the dates. She replied to the burner address once, 3 words, thank you. I knew. I did not write back. Elena's texts arrived in waves over the next few days. How could you humiliate me like that? We could have fixed this. You've ruined everything. I read them all. Answered none. Our kids were the only ones I spoke gently. I told them, age appropriate, careful, that mom and dad were having grown-up problems and that none of it was their fault. They believed me, for now. I moved out 2 weeks later, into a small rental not far from the kids' school. The furniture was cheap, the walls thin, but the silence was mine. Revenge is rarely as satisfying as stories make it seem. There was no triumphant score swelling as I walked away, no deep sense of cosmic balance restored. There was just a grim steadiness, like setting a bone that had healed wrong and knowing it would hurt before it felt better. Elena tried, once, to see me in person. She showed up outside my new place, eyes red, mascara streaked. You didn't have to destroy me, she said. I thought of the messages where she'd described me as a burden. Of the nights she'd turned away in bed because she was tired, then stayed up an extra hour texting him. Of the way she'd rewritten our history to make room for her new script. I didn't destroy you, I said quietly. I just took away the curtain. She flinched like I'd hit her. We stood there in the pale, cold light of the parking lot. Two people who had once promised forever, now reduced to carefully chosen sentences meant to hurt or defend. I'm sorry, she whispered finally. For all of it, the old me would have reached for her hand. The man who watched that slideshow with everyone else just nodded. I believe you, I said. But I'm still leaving. What revenge really gave me. Months later, I sat in a cafe near my new place, nursing a coffee that had gone lukewarm while I stared out the window. North American life went on around me. Commuters, students, people in yoga pants with reusable cups and tight schedules. I thought about what I had done. The spectacle, the exposure, the calculated cruelty of choosing an audience for her fall. If a writer had given this ending to a character in a domestic thriller, some European viewers would probably call it too American, too blunt, too public, not enough lingering ambiguity. Others would say it was justified. Here's what felt true. In the quiet aftermath, revenge did not heal me. It did not put our marriage back into some earlier, innocent shape. What it did was draw a clear line. It said, this is what happened. You do not get to narrate this in a way that makes me disappear. In a world where everything can be spun, edited, reframed for sympathy, maybe that is the only real justice available to ordinary people like me. I paid a price for it. Some friends drifted away, uncomfortable with the mess. My kids will grow up with a story about the night their parents lied went public. I will forever be the man who set the projector rolling. But when I wake up alone and make coffee in my small kitchen, there is a strange comfort in knowing that, at least once, I refused to let the truth be buried under polite silence. Elena lives in that same suburb, in that same glass house, now with fractures that never quite buff out. I don't know if she's still with Eric. I don't check. My revenge was never about him. It was about looking at the shattered pieces of the life I thought I had and saying, clearly, in front of witnesses, this is how it broke.